Morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network, and today's topic is the 0 point. This is the point of manifestation, the point of emergence. We've been talking about energy and frequency and being and not being and continuity and consciousness. And this is sort of a continuation of the same. And I'm going to be reading some more channeled writing today. But before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Today, we're talking about the 0 point. And this is the place of pure, another name for a place of pure potentiality. And periodically, I have read some excerpts from the channeled writing that I did a while back, and it's still quite relevant. So we're going to just take a look at a little bit of that right now, too, and tease it apart and see how we might connect it to our lives. So, the nature of reality as it is perceived is a function of the transmission / emanation of signals generated by the pulsing of two interfacing contexts. We choose not to say dimensions, as your concept of dimensions is bounded and flawed in its limitation. So contexts is a word we use to express the notion of facets of being, of energy, of manifestation, unbound by the material, unbound by the conceptualization of matter, time, and space. The interaction of these realms is energetic, creating something akin to what you might imagine as a disembodied friction, a motionless movement and counter movement, generating an imperceptible force that is the generation of all thought, all matter, all time, and sensation. It is true that what you imagine as the void is indeed not a void at all, but rather an infinite sea of the potential for all. The mechanism of creation is sourced in the emanation of energy of this field as it interfaces with the energy of consciousness in its multitudinous expressions. It is consciousness itself flowing into and out of existence, from whence all manifestation flows. The friction of the vastness of the seething void with the momentum of consciousness brings forth time and space, and from time and space comes forth physical manifestation. Understanding this mechanism of creation, you must realize that you are truly the creator of the universe. Understanding this mechanism of creation, you must realize that you, in bringing forth your pure intention, shift the very structure of the universe. The 0 point is you in the purity of your consciousness, the kernel of awareness from which your expression manifests itself. So I think there's a lot to tease apart there. What do you think? We've been talking about reality and the reality pulsing in and out of existence. And this is a further elaboration on that notion. And I think we get to tease it apart. It's a little bit dense, compressed, but maybe we can tease it apart a little bit. So the nature of reality as it is perceived is a function of, so in other words, the nature of the reality that we experience is a function of the transmission / emanation of signals generated by the pulsing of two interfacing contexts. So the pulsing of these two contexts is, as is later spoken, the mechanism of creation is sourced in the emanation of this energy, the void and the energy of consciousness, and the interference between these two contexts is what then flows into manifested existence. So interesting to be conceiving of this pregnant void, which is maybe the same, the pregnant void that Deepak Chopra speaks of, or the blackness, the nothingness that Joe Dispenza speaks of, the space beyond time, beyond space, beyond manifestation, beyond anything physical, beyond identity. That this is the 0 point. This is the place. If we can, obviously our words are inadequate for this, but the context from which emergence takes place. And so to go on about the signals generated by the pulsing of two interfacing contexts. We choose not to say dimensions, as your concept of dimensions is bounded and flawed in its limitation, because we think of dimension as relating to space and time, I think. So context is a word we'll use to express the notion of facets of being, of energy, of manifestation, unbound by the material. Unbounded by the conceptualization of matter, time, and space. And, we've been talking about assumptions recently and how assumption creates our reality. And I think it's really interesting to be playing with these ideas and to realize how challenging it is to separate our conceptualization of time, matter, and space from any from a conceptualization that doesn't include them, because it's if we talked about continuity as an assumption, another massive assumption that we have is time, matter, and space. And to try to imagine something that is beyond time, that is beyond matter, that is beyond space, physical dimension, is not something that we come by readily, nor do we have language really that expresses this. So it's we are embarking into or venturing into challenging waters here because we don't really have the language to address this potential reality. So as we continue with the reading, the interaction of these realms is energetic, creating something akin to what you might imagine as disembodied friction, which in itself is a contradiction, right? We're saying this realm from which all this is emergent it has no physicality, it has no time, it has no space, and yet it's interacting. There's a something about its nothingness that is interacting with this other realm of consciousness. So it says and how do we envision energy that is disembodied and energy that's interfacing with other energy to create a disembodied friction? So it makes me think at the moment of yin and yang, and we often see the yin and yang symbol as something that's flat. But I have this wonderful mobile that that demonstrates the yin and yang in a spherical form, where it's in movement and constant evolution, and it's never fixed. It's constantly emerging in its movement. And I imagine, again, how do you imagine movement without movement? Sort of another massive paradox, but it's very interesting to consider these paradoxes, the dark and the light, the day and the night, emerging constantly into each other. And it's not that the day or the night rules as absolute, because our experience of the day and night is bounded by geography, right? If we're in different places on the planet, day and night have totally different parameters. And if we're in motion in the planet, day and night don't really exist. Those boundaries are manufactured boundaries, right? So the interaction of these realms is energetic, creating something akin to what you might imagine as disembodied friction, a motionless movement and counter movement, generating an imperceptible force that is the generation of all thought, all matter, all time, and sensation. So motionless movement and counter movement, generating an imperceptible force that is the generation of all thought, all matter, all time, and sensation. So again, how do we convey ideas that take us beyond our context? Because that's what this is trying to do, is trying to express something that is inexpressible in its way. It's beyond our ability to conceptualize even. And how do we bring forth that or evoke that conceptualization through paradox, which is also in itself, it's an interesting thought and a thought exercise and conversation. When I've been in conversation with AI, talking about how do we create generative thought, new ideas, what AI has said is through paradox, through contradiction. And it's kind of like, how do we unify the heads and the tails of, oh my, excuse me, of a coin? How do we unify the paradox? What happens is that when we sit with paradox, the sound of one hand clapping, for example, it takes us into another dimension of perception. We're required to go to another level of awareness in order to reconcile the seemingly irreconcilable. So I think it's interesting here to be trying to be seeing how this information that's coming through is kind of capitalizing on the contradiction to be able to spark a new awareness, a new concept, a motionless movement and counter movement, generating an imperceptible force that is the generation of all thought, all matter, all time, and sensation. So this space of energy and space of manifestation, unbound by the material, unbound by the conceptualization of matter, time, and space. It's this pregnant void, right? And the interface of that with consciousness is what is emergent. So to continue on, it's true that what you imagine as the void is indeed not a void at all, but rather an infinite sea of potential for all. So it's the pre-existing primal seed, maybe. The mechanism of creation is sourced in the emanation of energy of this field as it interfaces with the energy of consciousness in its multitudinous expressions. So consciousness being something that is existing in its right, and this pure potentiality existing in its right, and these two non-physical energies interfacing with one another. So to continue, it's consciousness itself flowing into and out of existence, from whence all manifestation flows. And we were talking about this yesterday, the flicker in and out of existence. And to continue, the friction of the vastness of the seething void and the momentum of consciousness brings forth time and space. And from time and space comes forth physical manifestation. That's a biggie to wrap our heads around, right? From time and space comes about physical manifestation, which is interesting because in thinking about it, I think our orientation is more that physical manifestation persists through time and space, rather than time and space bringing forth physical manifestation. I don't know quite how to wrap my head around it, actually. I think it's another fun concept to be playing with. How is it that physical manifestation could come forth from time and space? Well, I guess that if something's physical, it needs space to occupy, and in order to occupy that space, it needs some persistence. So in that way, I guess we can start to imagine the physical needing time and space to manifest. So I hope you enjoy teasing this stuff apart as much as I do. It's nerdy and I know it's very esoteric, but again, I have to say that my greatest passion has always been, what is this? What's the nature of being, and what's the nature of reality, and what's the nature of consciousness and existence, and what's real and what's not real? Is there such a thing as real? So these writings open new doors, open new avenues for us to, or for me anyway, hopefully for you too, to explore maybe a different understanding of what this this existence is, that allows us to come to greater awakening, perhaps. So let's see. Understanding this mechanism of creation, you must realize that you are truly creator of the universe. I guess because consciousness is interfacing with the void, we have our individuated or seemingly individuated consciousness that is then interacting with this field of ultimate potential. So, understanding this mechanism of creation, you must realize that you, in bringing forth your pure intention, shift the very structure of the universe, because we're making our intention manifest. That's, I added that, obviously. And the last line is, the 0 point is you, in the purity of your consciousness, the kernel of awareness from which your expression manifests itself. So it's interesting because there's an acknowledgement of our individuated expression, and yet that we each create our world. So we have choice, and I think that the key in this conversation is intention. And that's something that we've spoken about in way less esoteric terms on other times, in other conversations, is that we get to look at our intention and aligning with our essence, and allowing our intention to move from that essence into the world. And that we are creators. And we can look at it from so many different levels. We can look at it from the level of shifting our thought patterns, shifting our emotions, shifting our perception or perspective. And by doing so, we shift our experience, which shifts the world that we, or the reality in which we reside. And we can also take this to a much more esoteric level, where we again, connect with that essence to move the energy of intention into a broader creation. So I thank you for playing. I really, I really appreciate the opportunity to share this stuff and to noodle it through with you and to explore together what it is to be human in these morning musings. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the chat, in the description. So again, so much gratitude. Until next time, so much.